Okay, welcome to another video. So we're going to continue on our marathon run through the Ubuntu 20.10 betas, and today we're going to check out the Xubuntu, which is of course Ubuntu's flavour that features the XFCE desktop environment. So we're in the live session right now. The ISO size for this one was around about 1.7 GB, making it the smallest one I've looked at so far, and about a gig smaller than the standard Ubuntu 20.10 beta ISO. So we're going to go ahead and install it onto the main computer here. English UK is of course the layout, and the keyboard is doing what it's told, so let's press continue. Okay, so I can notice that we don't have the option for a minimal install on here, so I guess if you wanted to get a nice minimal installation of XFCE on Ubuntu, you might have to go ahead and download the mini ISO and set it up through that. So what we're going to do is install third-party software and continue. So it's now getting to the portion where it's going to start scanning for disks and existing installs that are currently on this computer. What we're going to do is use the same disk that we use for the Mate and Budgie videos and go erase disk and install Xubuntu. And here is that disk we are going to be using, the NVMe Subrent. So we're going to install now, and it's going to use the same simple partition layout as all of the others, which is one partition for your EFI, and then the rest is all assigned at root using the ext4 file system. Continue. Okay, let's choose our location. London will do the job, so let's press continue. And now it's time to name our computer as well as our user accounts. So as we're using the XFCE desktop environment, we're going to call this one Mouseboy. Type in our passwords. And as per usual, I'm going to log in automatically. Before I press continue, I've just realised we didn't get the option for the Active Directory on this install either, unlike some of the other versions that we've looked at so far. Right, as soon as I press continue, I'll be starting my stopwatch. And I'll be back once the installation has completed. Okay, the installation has completed, and that one clocked in at around about 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So what we're going to do is reboot and check out our freshly installed Xubuntu XFCE desktop. Okay, and here we are. So first things first, we've got a little update to get, and it's a 52.5 MB to download. So let's just check what the details of this update are. So it's going to be updating Firefox and also GIMP. See, I completely forgot that Xubuntu comes with GIMP pre-installed. It's been a while since I've checked out the Xubuntu, to be fair. So we have mines, printers, software, some smaller packages there, and the Ubuntu base. So what I'm going to do is install this update and be back in just a moment. Okay, so we're all up to date and we should be good to go. So we're just going to start off by giving a general sort of look through the desktop here. It shouldn't take us too long though, because the Xubuntu guys have done a really good job of implementing a clean, straightforward and easy to use desktop. In fact, I'd go so far as to say if I was introducing a new user to Linux that grew up using Windows their entire life, I'll probably start them off on a desktop not too dissimilar from this. Because once you've moved your panel to the bottom and made them feel a bit more at home, everything should kind of be in a similar place to what they would be used to on Windows. Of course, you have your standard icons, launcher, etc. But we're Linux guys, and I like my panel to be up the top. Okay, let's lock that and let's see how they've set everything up. So appearance wise, you can just about make out the stars behind the panel on the wallpaper there. So it's got a little bit of transparency using the system style theme. But you can of course change the background to a solid colour or a background image. The opacity's on 100 on both, and the items, so we have the Whisker Menu top left, which is of course our application launcher, with your search bar at the top, categories to the left, and then your applications to the right. We have our little user account there, and then little icons for the settings, lock screen, and the power off buttons for log out, etc. Then just to the right of that we have the Windows buttons, which includes the icon as well as the Windows title right there. We then have our notification area and plugin, our indicator plugin, status notifier plugin, power manager and pulse audio. Now I've just noticed that we are completely muted. I'm hoping that that's just a simple fix and there's not a problem there. Perfect, so the sound's working absolutely fine. And if we was to have media playing on Parole Media Player, you'd get some little quick toggle actions like pause, skip, etc. And we can jump into the audio mixer as well. We then have our clock, which of course a little single click will open the little drop down for the clock. Now if we close this, we can do a right click on the desktop, which gives you the normal sort of options that you should be used to, like open a window, create a folder or document, as well as open terminal here. But we also have our entire application list here as well, so you don't always have to move your mouse all the way up here. Of course I don't know what the keyboard shortcut is. So it's not left super. I can't remember what it is on Xubuntu. It's been a while since I've properly used it. so we will have to go into the keyboard shortcuts in just a moment. So let's see what the default applications are. So in accessories we have Funar, which is of course our files manager. We have the Mate calculator, mousepad, which is a nice and simple text editor. We have notes, so these are like little sticky notes, and the window's transparent there and it's a yellowish kind of colour, so we can just do a quick little note like hello world, and then we can start a new one. So if we right click on the title bar, we then get some more options, so we can create groups, we can do a new note, we can delete, rename, undo, and then we can sticky window and also have it always on top. So let's create a new group and see how that all works. I don't really use these notes much. Right, so we've created a new group. Let's say hello world 2. Now if we close these, we should be able to just click this icon in our system tray here, and then it will open them up again with the notes that we had just left. And then we can just delete them like so and be good to go. Okay, that's the little notes application. Oh, let's just quit it up here so we can just remove it. Perfect. So is there anything else in accessories? Of course we have our on-screen keyboard, our screenshot tool. Bang. Let's save that in our pictures. And I think that's all I really need to check out in accessories. And of course you have XF Burn. Okay, cool. So in games you have No Minds, I do believe, Sudoku, and then the SGT puzzle collection, which has a lot of little collections inside of it. Now I don't tend to play any of these, so I am going to go ahead and uninstall this in just a moment. But there's a good little selection there for those of you that do like these little desktop games there. Okay, let's keep going. So in graphics, of course, we know we have GIMP, which is a very good addition to have, especially for me. Ristretto Image Viewer, LibreOffice Draw, and Document Scanner. So in Internet, we have Firefox as our default web browser. We have Transmission for torrents, Thunderbird for your mail, and then Pigeon Internet Messenger, which is one of my favourite applications actually. I tend to use this quite a lot because you can have all of your chat services all within the one window there, and then you can always talk to people you want to without having hundreds of different program windows open at once. So out of the box there's a fair few protocols, but you can download sort of additional protocols like Purple Discord, Facebook, Telegram, etc., and you can have all of those accounts all within this one app there. Very handy little application to have. Okay, let's keep moving. So that's Internet all finished, I do believe. So in Multimedia we have Parole Media Player as our default media player for movie files. We have XF Burn and Pulse Audio, so we don't seem to have a sort of music library program, which would be nice to have included out of the box. We then have the full LibreOffice suite, and let's just see what Libreoffice Writer looks like with our default XFCE theme. I'm not 100% sure what the theme is actually, we'll have to go through that in a moment. But it looks fairly decent, and of course your Alt-Tab switcher gives you the little icon view like so. Let's keep moving. So as well as the LibreOffice, we also have Dictionary and the Atril document viewer. Now the settings is mainly going to be all of your XFCE stuff that we'll go through in a minute, but we'll get to it using the settings manager. You also have your software updater, etc., and then workspaces. So by default it only has the single workspace, so just the one desktop. So we could go ahead and make 4, and now if we go back into our panel preferences, we can go ahead and add a nice little applet for it so we can see it in our top panel. So type in workspace, bang. Now it's moved it to the right of the clock. I'd rather have it just before, so what we're going to do is close some of these so we can get a bit more room up here. Bye bye. And now let's move that just in front of all of those little items here. Perfect. Now we can get to the settings of it here by just doing that, and that will show you the workspace switcher settings, and then you have further still settings by jumping into here, which is of course where we set the workspaces, and you can add the margin settings. So it has a few more options of how you can traverse. So you can scroll the wheel with your mouse wheel, so also we could just click, or we could use our mouse wheel and scroll through them like so. And I do believe the defaults are going to be Control Alt left and right. I will change them though, because that's the keyboard shortcut I like to use to move windows across workspaces, but we'll get to that in just a moment. And of course you can just quite simply drag and drop programs in between them for them to start on the next workspace. Okay, cool. So let's get out of the panel preferences and keep going now. I don't think there's too much extra stuff we need to check out in the applications. Oh, I do want to see what our software store is though. I'm going to imagine it's just GNOME software, which will be cool. Is it just GNOME software? Dun, dun, dun. And of course you get the little icon there as well of the programs that are on. Perfect. So it's just the GNOME software application, which makes my life easier, because I will then go ahead and install Flatpak and use that with the GNOME Flatpak plugin. So we can install our FlatHubs all from our Flatpaks from the FlatHub repo, all from within this one package here. And of course this will have the Snap plugin as we are on Ubuntu. So let's just test that out with Kdenlive, and it should have a couple of options, one being the Snap and then the other being the repo one. As you can see, Ubuntu Groovy Universe. So this will be the Snap, and then we can get to all of the sources like so. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and install HTOP, because I don't think we have it out of the box, and then we're going to see how much RAM we use at boot before we go ahead and make any changes to our system. So I'm going to pause the video here and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, and we are back. So RAM usage is looking pretty decent at about 660 MB from a fresh reboot, and of course we have our familiar little swap file there of 2 GB. So I'm going to be intrigued when I do the little run through of Xubuntu 20.10 how similar the RAM usage is between this and of course XFCE and KDE, because they're quite neck and neck now these days with the amount of resources it uses, at least insofar as the RAM. Right, what we're going to do now is start changing things around a bit. So we want to jump into the settings manager for XFCE, and we can also check out the default theming. So if we jump into appearance now, we are using the Greybird theme, that's the one, and of course we do have the nice Greybird Dark as well, which I am going to switch it to. So if we open up our files manager, and we're also going to open up window manager, and that way we can change the theme across both applications. Right, so we're going to go to Greybird Dark here, and then Greybird Dark here. And it's changed it all on the fly, very quick, no waiting around, absolutely perfect. I do very much like the dark Greybird theme actually. So if we go into icons, we can see that we're using the elementary XFCE darker set, but there are a few additional ones, mainly just the elementary sort of variations. So we're on darker, but they have dark, XFCE and darkest. And then we have the humanity, etc. sort of stuff, and the Ubuntu mono dark and mono light. So let's get out of that and go back to some of the other settings now, and then we'll have a little run through, and then we'll sort of start customizing it a bit, because that's the best thing for me at least about XFCE, is that it's quite an easy to customize desktop insofar as you don't have to go too crazy, but it's not like KDE where you have sort of global themes and everything. You will have to install some additional stuff from a sort of third party. So what we're going to do is go back into the settings manager, and then sort of have a little look around at what we can do here, and then we will start changing things up. So of course we have our Windows Manager tweaks as well, and let me just make sure that one little option is not enabled. Perfect. So because I'm going to install a dock which is going to be Plank, we always want that not to show, otherwise when it shows you'll get a horrible little line all across there when the effects of Plank are active. And we can also go for the cycling options, focus, accessibility, workspaces, placement. So let's get out of this and then go back into the settings and see if there's anything else we do want to check out. So while we're here, let's see what the preferred applications are set to. So of course web browser, Firefox, email, Thunderbird. Okay, pretty standard. So your file manager, Funa, and your terminal is the XFCE terminal. Now let me just finish up and see if there's any additional settings that we need to check out before we go into the keyboard shortcuts, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, cool. Oh, of course we have our session startup as well. We are going to need to go through this in a moment because there's some things that we're going to want to have start up. But for the moment, that all looks fairly okay. Cool. Right, let's now see what the default keyboard shortcuts are for everything. I keep pressing left super thinking it's for that, but of course it isn't. So there'll be two packages we need to check out. So one will be again the Windows Manager, and the other will just be the keyboard settings. Perfect. So this is where we're going to find out where the XFCE sort of Whisker Menu is. Let's have a look. XFCE pop-up Whisker Menu. So it's set on Control Escape, which I'm going to leave it as because I'm going to install Albert the application launcher anyway, because that's what I quite like to do on XFCE. But let's just see if our super left and right works with Windows splitting. It does indeed. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to leave that like that. I'm not too fussed for the moment. And there's a few additional ones here as well, like Parole Pigeon, the XFCE App Finder, etc. So I'm not going to worry about this one for now, but we're going to jump into this one. So in the keyboard settings, like I said, we're going to change the default keyboard switching to just a very simple Control left and Control right, because I'm going to have move window to left workspace be Control Alt left, and we're going to use move window, and we'll do the same for the right. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is find the workspace left and workspace right, and here we are. So we're going to make that Control left, and we're going to make that Control right. Now let's test that out to make sure that's working as it should. So we're switching desktops nice. There isn't really any animations for switching desktops out of the box on XFCE on Xubuntu. And now let's test it with moving windows. Perfect, so that's all working absolutely fine. So let's close that off now. So what we're going to go ahead and do is install some additional packages. We're going to grab Flatpak, we're going to get the GNOME software plugin, and we're going to get a few different extensions for like the panel, like extras, XFCE extras, mainly just a global menu because I've started to not really be able to deal without it. So let's go ahead and go sudo apt install Flatpak plank. We're going to get tmux while we're here. We're going to get the arc theme. Actually no, we're just going to get the arc icon. So for the moment we're going to get that XFCE4 app menu plugin. I do believe that's the one I want. And is there anything else I'm going to need for the rest of this video? We already have GIMP. I'm going to get Kden live from FlatHub. That should be good. So we're going to go ahead and enter that now. And while that's doing that, we're now going to go into Firefox and get some additional themes for everything to pretty things up a bit. Perfect. Right, we want to go to flathub.org first of all to go ahead and get the quick setup and grab the repo for Flatpak for FlatHub as well as the GNOME software plugin. I forgot to enable that myself, so let's grab that. And we should be done in this terminal. So let's paste that in, and then we're going to get the FlatHub repository, and then we're going to do a quick reboot once we've added some things to our auto start. Okay. Right, I'll pause the video here and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we are back. So we've added Plank to our session and startup. Obviously it looks a bit rough at the moment, so we're going to need to sort of install some themes and remove some of these duplicates. It always happens on Plank and I don't know why, so we're going to just remove some of these by dragging them out. We're going to remove the web browser and email client icons because of course we're just going to add Firefox and Thunderbird to them. So that'll do just for now. So what we're going to do now is I have grabbed a few different themes. So we're going to go into downloads and we've got the arc icons and we've got the Plank themes here. So if you just extract this here, because I want to make sure we only grab this one here, I'm going to copy this into our Plank theme folder. So Control H to show the hidden files. Let's go to .local, share, Plank and themes, and we're just going to copy that straight into there. Go into our preferences now, make it a little bit smaller, and then change the theme to shade. Perfect. I find shade goes with most dark themes quite well, so I'm not too fussed about whether it doesn't quite match with that, because it's good enough. Okay, and for IntelliHide is absolutely fine, so it should just disappear when we get close to it. Perfect. Now it's time for our icon theme, so let's go back into our downloads folder and then just extract this into a new folder in our home folder, .icons. I've accidentally clicked extract here. Not to worry, we'll just cut it from here into a new folder. So let's make a new folder of .icons. Now we should be fully extracted. So let's go into here and just move these over to that folder we just made. Paste them over. And now let's go into our appearance and make sure that's all working as it should. So icons, arc icons, perfect. I don't mind the default sort of elementary XFCE icons, but I find that a lot of them have different shapes and sizes, and I'm quite OCD with my icons. I like them to be basically exactly the same shape and size across every single application, and arc icons does a pretty good job at that. Okay, so now that's done, we're going to go into our panel preferences and change a few things up here. So far as items, I no longer need Windows buttons now, which are these things here, because of course we can minimize and restore things from our planks. Let's just remove that. Now we installed a new global menu, didn't we, which is the app menu plugin. Okay, so we're just going to need to move that just after the Whisker menu, like so. Perfect. Now let's make sure it's working with something. So we've got it on a desktop. Let's now make sure it's working with Libreoffice Writer. I find Libreoffice Writer is a good test for it because it tends to always work with the global menus, and there's quite a few options there. Perfect. So we have quick access to all of our settings now, and I've mentioned it quite a lot in recent videos. I kind of can't live without a global menu, which is what's good about XFCE. It's very easily customized to get it to pretty much fit whatever your workflow is. Cool, so we're good on that one, so let's close that. And now I do have a new wallpaper that someone's made and just sent it to me, and we're going to be using that for this video. So let's go back into the downloads. I think it's quite a large file though, but he's used the new Groovy Gorilla sort of wallpaper style, so I think it's going to look quite good here. So let's go to Set as Wallpaper, and now let's minimize that and just admire our desktop. I like it. Okay, to finish it up we need to go ahead and get Kdenlive. And also I do think I've got the Albert package. I might need to get that in just a moment. Did I get Albert? No. So what we're going to do is jump into our GNOME software store now that we've got the plugin for FlatHub. And then we're going to install Kdenlive. And then while it's doing that, I might pause the video, grab Albert, install that, and then we'll finish up with just some final thoughts of Xubuntu. Okay, so we've gone ahead and installed the Kdenlive Flatpak. Now let's jump into our downloads folder and grab the Albert package, and it should open it in GNOME software. Perfect, so we don't even need to go ahead and install GDebi or install it through the terminal, because it will just automatically open .debs in GNOME software. So let's type in our password. And now what we need to do is go into the Windows Manager tweaks and just remove one of the default shortcuts, which is going to be assigned to the Windows operation menu at Alt Space, because that's what I'm going to use for Albert. We're going to make that Control Space, because I don't tend to really use that keyboard shortcut for that function anyway. So Albert has now been installed. So if we open up Albert, we can now set this up. Now Albert I find just very handy, especially when the launcher doesn't go through sort of files and settings, etc. You can kind of customize Albert to do all of that for you. So we want our hotkey to be Alt and Space. We want our theme to be Arc Dark Grey. We want to clear on hide, hide on close, and not display a shadow. Now we don't want the tray icon either. I'm not going to bother clicking the auto login here, because I'm going to do it in the session and startup, because sometimes it can be a bit temperamental depending on what desktop you're on, setting it through this window here. It would probably work, but just to save myself, I'm just going to do it in the session and startups. So I want to search for applications, I want to search for files, I want to search for Firefox bookmarks, and let's also grab terminal. I don't ever like to do a web search from a desktop, but for those of you that like to just directly do quick web searches on your desktop, you can also do that as well. So what we're going to do is jump into files now and enable some of the additional file formats, and that should be all set up to work absolutely fine. So if we press Alt and Space, and let's say we wanted to open up Firefox, bang, and it shows all the correct icons for your theming, etc. So now what we need to do is go into the session and startup, like so, and then go application auto start, and we're now going to add Albert, as well as, I think I've already added Plank actually. I'll have to double check that. Yeah, I have, yeah. Shows you how good my memory is, doesn't it? Okay, so I think that's pretty much any of the customizations I need to make. So last but not least, we're going to jump into desktop settings and remove the icons now. So let's get out of the way with that one. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is reboot, see how much RAM we are now using, that we've added a few additional things in our session and startup, give some final thoughts, and then wrap it up there. Okay, we are back, and we've barely really even made too much of a dent on the RAM. So we're now using about 680, 81 megabytes RAM on a fresh reboot, and I think, considering what we've done and how nice everything looks, I think that's absolutely okay. So some final thoughts then. Xubuntu is a really nice desktop actually, even at just the defaults. Like I said in sort of the intro, it's probably very well suited to a new user that is used to that very simple single panel paradigm, especially if they're coming from Windows. It's a nice and easy implementation of XFCE, and it's got same defaults and everything works out of the box. Definitely one to watch out for. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and join the Discord. There's a link in the description. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.